most people never use half dollars anymore, which is exactly why some get overlooked. Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're uncovering 3 Kennedy half dollars that continue to attract attention from collectors. 1993 D Kennedy half dollar. 1972 D Kennedy half dollar. 1971 D Kennedy half dollar. These iconic coins feature the powerful presidential seal reverse design and have been a symbol of American coinage for generations. Many examples are worn, scratched, and heavily circulated, making them seem ordinary at first glance. But collectors often search for mint errors, rare die varieties, and exceptional condition coins that can set certain pieces apart. The surprising thing about half dollars is that many people rarely check them, allowing interesting finds to slip by unnoticed. Before you toss a Kennedy half dollar into a drawer or spend it, inspect it carefully because hidden details can make all the difference. Let's start with coin number 1. There is something strange about the Kennedy half dollar. Not because of its size. Not because of its design. But because millions of Americans have seen one, while very few have actually spent one. That mystery begins with today's coin. The 1993 D Kennedy half dollar. A coin that entered the world during a period when America was changing faster than ever before. Yet unlike quarters, unlike dimes, unlike pennies, this coin was already becoming something unusual. Something different. Something people recognized, but rarely carried. And that is where our story begins. Imagine walking into a bank during the early 1990s. Computers are becoming more common. Businesses are changing. Technology is accelerating. Yet inside the cash drawers, coins still dominate daily transactions. Pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. They move constantly. Hour after hour. Day after day. But the Kennedy half dollar? Its journey is different. Much different. The 1993 D Kennedy half dollar was struck in Denver and released into circulation carrying a design Americans instantly recognized. On the front stood President John F. Kennedy. A portrait familiar to generations. A face connected to one of the most memorable chapters in American history. On the reverse appeared the presidential seal. Powerful. Detailed. Timeless. The design looked important. Almost ceremonial. And perhaps that is why the coin always felt different from ordinary pocket change. When this coin first left the mint, it was beautiful. Bright surfaces. Sharp details. Strong lettering. Everything appeared untouched. Everything appeared perfect. But perfection never survives circulation for long. Soon the coin began moving. Through banks. Through registers. Through businesses. Through pockets. Yet something unusual happened. Unlike smaller coins, many Kennedy half dollars didn't circulate as heavily. People noticed them. People saved them. People set them aside. Some considered them special. Others simply found them uncommon. And because of that, many examples experienced a very different life than ordinary change. Still, countless 1993 D half dollars entered the real world. And those coins began collecting stories. Imagine one sitting inside a cash register in a small American diner. Imagine another traveling hundreds of miles in a truck driver's pocket. Imagine another disappearing into a family coin jar for years. Every possibility creates a different journey. Every journey creates a different story. And that story becomes visible on the coin itself. The bright shine slowly fades. Tiny marks begin appearing. Edges develop character. Surfaces tell a history that no document could ever fully capture. Collectors understand this better than anyone. To most people, wear means damage. To collectors, wear means life. A coin that circulated tells a story. A coin that traveled witnessed history. A coin that survived decades carries evidence of everything it experienced. That is what makes Kennedy half dollars fascinating. Not simply their design, not simply their age, but their survival. Especially a coin like the 1993 D. Because this was an era when the half dollar was becoming increasingly unusual in everyday commerce. Many Americans stopped seeing them regularly. Many businesses rarely used them. Yet the coin continued existing, continued moving, continued surviving. Almost like a traveler refusing to disappear. Think about that for a moment. A coin created to circulate, slowly becoming something people rarely encountered. That contradiction gives the Kennedy half dollar a unique identity. It was never completely gone. Yet it was never completely common. It existed in a strange space between circulation and collecting. And the 1993 D issue reflects that reality perfectly. Some examples remained bright for years. Others accumulated heavy wear. Some entered collections almost immediately. Others spent decades moving through the economy. No two journeys were identical. And that is exactly why collectors remain fascinated by them today. Because every surviving coin represents a mystery. Where did it go? Who carried it? How many hands touched it? How many stories passed through it? The answers disappeared long ago. But traces remain. Every mark. Every worn detail. Every faded surface. These become clues. Evidence of a life lived in circulation. And as fascinating as the 1993 D story is, it is only the beginning. Because our journey through Kennedy half dollar history is about to move backward. Further into the past. To a year that lived in a completely different America. A year where the Kennedy half dollar was still relatively new. Still attracting attention. Still finding its place in everyday commerce. The year is 1972. And its story may be even more surprising than the one we just uncovered. Because sometimes, the deeper you travel into coin history, the more mysteries you find. A coin does not know history is happening. It does not know when the world changes. It does not know when one era ends and another begins. Yet sometimes, a coin becomes trapped between two different Americas. And that is exactly what happened with the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar. This was not the America of the 1960s anymore. And it was not yet the America of the modern digital age. It existed somewhere in between. A nation moving forward. A nation transforming. A nation changing faster than most people realized. And quietly moving through that transformation was a Kennedy half dollar struck in Denver. A coin that would spend decades witnessing history without ever saying a word. When the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar first left the mint, nobody imagined collectors would still be discussing coins from this era decades later. To the people receiving them, it was simply money. Nothing more. Just another half dollar. Another piece of circulation. Another coin meant to move. And move it did. Through grocery stores. Through restaurants. Through gas stations. Through small-town businesses and crowded city streets. The coin traveled constantly. Always moving. Always changing hands. Always becoming part of everyday life. At first, the surfaces were bright. The portrait of President Kennedy appeared sharp and powerful. Every detail stood out clearly. The presidential seal on the reverse looked bold. Strong. Confident. The coin felt important. Almost larger than life. And perhaps that was fitting. Because the Kennedy half dollar had always carried a unique identity. Even years after its introduction, people still recognized it immediately. It was bigger than most coins. Less common than quarters. Different from everything else in a pocket full of change. That difference made people notice it. And sometimes, people saved it. Not because it was rare. Not because it was valuable. but because it felt special. That small decision changed the fate of countless Kennedy half dollars. Some continued circulating. Others disappeared into drawers. Others vanished into collections. Others remained untouched for years. The result? Every surviving 1972 Kennedy half dollar developed its own unique journey. No two stories were exactly the same. Imagine one example traveling across multiple states, moving through hundreds of transactions, passing through thousands of hands. Now imagine another example spending decades forgotten inside a family keepsake box. Both coins started the same, yet their lives became completely different. That is the hidden beauty of coin collecting. Every coin becomes a separate story. Every scratch becomes evidence. Every worn detail becomes part of a larger mystery. Collectors often study these coins because they understand something most people overlook. Coins are among the few everyday objects that survive across generations. A newspaper fades away. A receipt gets thrown out. A package disappears. But a coin? A coin can survive for decades. Sometimes longer. And while surviving, it quietly records history. Not through words. Not through photographs. But through wear. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar became exactly that kind of survivor. It moved through an America that changed dramatically. New technologies appeared. New businesses emerged. New generations grew up. Yet the coin remained. Still recognizable. Still carrying the same portrait. Still carrying the same identity. Think about everything this coin may have witnessed. Family road trips. Weekend shopping. Baseball games. Movie theaters. County fairs. Everyday moments that seemed ordinary at the time. Yet today those moments belong to history. And this coin may have been there. That possibility creates fascination. Because the true story of a circulated coin can never be fully known. Only imagined. Only explored through clues left behind. And the clues are everywhere. The softened details. The faded shine. The tiny marks created by years of movement. Each one represents another chapter. Another forgotten moment. Another piece of a journey stretching across decades. That is why so many collectors continue searching through old coin jars and inherited collections. Not simply to find coins, but to find stories. To reconnect with moments that would otherwise disappear forever. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar represents exactly that connection. A connection between past and present. A connection between generations. A connection between ordinary people and extraordinary history. Yet even this remarkable journey is not the oldest chapter in today's story. Because waiting ahead is a coin from an even earlier year. A year closer to the beginning of the Kennedy half dollar era. A year when the coin still felt new. Still felt important. Still carried the emotional weight that surrounded its introduction. The year is 1971. And its story takes us even closer to the origins of one of America's most recognizable coins. Because sometimes, to understand where a coin ended up, you must first understand where it began. And that final chapter is coming next. Some coins disappear quietly. They enter circulation. They wear down. They vanish from memory. And eventually, nobody remembers they were ever there. But every now and then, a coin refuses to follow that path. A coin refuses to disappear. A coin continues showing up decade after decade. Long after people expect it to be gone. That is the story of the 1971 Kennedy half dollar. A coin that entered circulation during a completely different America. A coin born at a time when people still handled cash for almost everything. A coin that would spend years traveling through stores, businesses, restaurants, and communities across the country. And somehow, after all those years, it survived. When this half-dollar first left the Denver Mint in 1971, it carried a sense of familiarity and importance. The portrait of President John F. Kennedy stood proudly on the front. The presidential seal filled the reverse with detail and strength. The design was already becoming iconic. People instantly recognized it. They knew exactly what it was. Yet even then, the Kennedy half-dollar occupied a unique place in American coinage. It was larger than most circulating coins. Heavier in the hand. Different from everything around it. And because of that difference, people paid attention. Sometimes curiosity caused people to save them. Sometimes sentiment caused people to keep them. Sometimes they simply ended up sitting in drawers for years. But many examples still entered everyday circulation. And those coins began their long journey through history. Imagine receiving this coin in the early 1970s. You might have used it to buy lunch. You might have received it from a cashier. You might have dropped it into a pocket without giving it a second thought. At that moment, it was just another coin. Just another piece of money. Just another ordinary object moving through ordinary life. Yet that ordinary beginning would eventually become something extraordinary. Because time changes everything. As years passed, the coin continued moving. One owner became another. One transaction became another. One decade became another. The coin never stopped traveling. And every mile of that journey left a mark. The bright surfaces slowly lost their original shine. Tiny contact marks appeared. Details softened. The coin aged. But unlike many objects from the same era, it survived. That survival is what makes old circulating coins so fascinating. Think about all the things that did not survive. The receipts. The packaging. The advertisements. The everyday objects people used and discarded. Most disappeared forever. Yet the coin remained. Still recognizable. Still carrying the same portrait. Still carrying the same identity. Collectors understand the significance of that survival. When they examine a 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar, they are not simply studying metal. They are studying endurance. A coin that successfully traveled through decades of American life. A coin that witnessed change after change after change. Imagine everything that happened while this coin remained in existence. New technologies arrived. Entire industries transformed. Television evolved. Computers entered homes. The internet appeared. Mobile phones changed communication forever. The world moved faster and faster. Yet somewhere in that constantly changing world, this coin continued existing. Quietly. Patiently. Almost unnoticed. That is why old circulating coins often feel like time capsules. Not because they were hidden away, but because they survived while everything around them changed. The 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar represents that idea perfectly. A survivor. A traveler. A witness. Its journey may have included countless places. A busy city bank. A small-town diner. A roadside gas station. A family vacation. A county fair. A grocery store checkout line. The possibilities are endless. And because the possibilities are endless, the mystery never ends. No collector can know every detail. No historian can reconstruct every transaction. No record exists. Only clues. The where. The marks. The softened details. The evidence left behind by time itself. Those clues tell us something important. They tell us the coin lived. It participated in history. It moved through real life. And that movement transformed an ordinary half-dollar into something much more meaningful. By now, our journey through these Kennedy half-dollars is nearly complete. We have traveled through 1993. We have explored 1972. And now we stand with 1971. 3 different years. 3 different journeys. 3 different stories. Yet all 3 coins share one thing in common. They survived. Not because they were protected. Not because they were famous. But because they continued doing what coins were created to do. Move. Travel. Connect people. And carry history forward. That is the hidden power of coin collecting. It reminds us that history does not only live in museums. History lives in everyday objects. Objects people overlook. Objects people spend. Objects people forget. Sometimes history is sitting quietly inside a coin jar. Sometimes it is hiding in a drawer. Sometimes it is resting in the palm of your hand. Waiting to be noticed. Waiting to tell its story. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. How many stories are still out there? Moving silently through the world. One coin at a time.